Hey everybody, I have been seeing some questions and comments about prescribed burns here in the group, so I figured it would be a great topic for Walking Club 101. Chris Kiddy with Hillsborough County joins me now to break it all down for us. Thanks for being here, Chris.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk to everybody in your walking club.
So first things first, for those who don't know, what is a prescribed burn?
So, prescribed fire, we like to say it's a safe way to apply a natural process, ensure ecosystem health, and reduce wildfire risk. But basically, we're trying to mimic a natural phenomenon in nature. Throughout history, before people were here, lightning would hit in Florida and it would spread. And this would happen quite often. And all the plants and the animals kind of adapted to need that. So we're trying to mimic that, and obviously in a controlled manner that doesn't affect the community too much.
You kind of touched on that in terms of why they're so important because of wildfires.
Basically, when we do a prescribed fire, in addition to benefiting the environment and the plants and the animals in that environment, we're reducing the fuels that are in that environment. So those are the things that can cause wildfires. If you don't have a fire every so often, those fuels, those dead grasses, the dead trees and everything builds up. And that's when you run into the case where if lightning were to hit, all those dead fuels could ignite and cause a really, really powerful wildfire. So what we're trying to do is burn those off in a controlled manner.
Is there a time of year when the controlled burns happen more frequently?
For ecological purposes, we like to burn during the growing season, spring and summer. But for other purposes, we will burn during the winter and fall also. So there's no time of year where you can say, oh, this is going to be prescribed fire season. In Florida, it's all year long.
How can people who live near preserves and parks where the burns take place find out when it's going to happen?
It's really challenging to know when we can actually burn because we don't know until the morning of if we're going to have those conditions. So what we've done is we have a new website, hcflgov.net, RX Fire. You can actually go to that page and we put all of our burn notifications on there that morning. And you can also sign up to get an email notification now, which is something new. We just started this in the last couple of weeks. So when we send out our notification, let everybody know, you can be on that list and say, we are doing a prescribed burn at Bell Creek today. In that notification, we'll let you know if any trails close or anything like that to let you know and be prepared if you're planning on going and hiking at one of these sites.
That's exactly it. I mean, what should somebody do if they get to a preserve or a park and there's a burn taking place?
Yeah, and so if you show up to a park or a preserve, and if not every burn will actually close down the trails. So like say we are monitoring which way the wind and the smoke is me going. So if we can do that without affecting the trails, most times we'll actually leave all the trails open. So you might see the teams there kind of driving around and monitoring the burn, but you'll be far enough away. If by chance you do get there and that trail is going to be closed because of the burn, we'll have signs and notifications letting you know that there's a prescribed fire going on here today and that not to use this trail.
Well, let's talk about monitoring the burns. Diane says that she feels like she's seen too many burns that were not being monitored, that she didn't see anyone there. But you say that that's not necessarily the case.
No, if it's a prescribed fire, there is definitely a team there monitoring every aspect of that fire. And that might be some wildfires she's seen before first responders can get out there and stuff. But in our prescription, we have to write an actual prescription identifying the exact weather conditions we need, what our plan is to control that fire. And that's all stuff we have to submit to forestry to get our authorization to burn. And in those prescriptions, we actually identify what crew members we will need for that fire. So there was always a crew there watching every last aspect of that burn.
Brenda wants to know, how does it affect wildlife, specifically endangered species? How much research is done so not to destroy mating or nesting animals, birds, insects, and fish?
Yeah, that's a great question. And everybody wants to know, where does wildlife go? Is this good for wildlife? Why do we do this? And we actually do this for the wildlife. If we did not do prescribed burns, these ecosystems and these habitats would not create the right amount of food that would actually help these species survive. So by putting burnt fire down on the ground, we're releasing nutrients that allows all these flowers and shrubs and things to start growing and reproduce. And that basically provides food for specific plants or wildlife. Many endangered species really need fire. By doing prescribed fire, it's a slower, not quite as intense burn as a wildfire. So that actually is better for the wildlife too, because it gives them a chance to move to unburned sites. They use gopher tortoise burrows to get away from the fire. And we also create basically exits for them to get out and get away from the fires, which obviously does not happen during a wildfire.
So even though it looks like maybe from the human eye that things are being destroyed, it's really just things are being reborn.
Reborn. That's I call it. We like to use the term phoenix. From the ashes, life will rise. If we did not do fire, the ecosystems would completely change, and the food source that these animals need to survive would not be there, and we'd lose these animals.
I have seen some comments in the group, people go to not necessarily in Hillsborough County, this happened up in Pasco. They go and then they're disappointed because the burn has taken place. But I mean, what do you say to people when they want to go see a bunch of green and then it's burned?
Yeah, I would tell, instead of be disappointed, be excited about that new life that's about to pop up and what that's going to lead to. And honestly, I take a little time to really look at and appreciate just what that looks like right now, that just black everywhere and the contrast with the other areas around it. And think about what that's going to look like in a few days, and then that green that's going to start popping up, and just all the animals that are going to start coming there and feeding, and keeping that food chain, that cycle continuing, and keeping that balance, that natural balance that nature's trying to achieve.
Great information. Thank you so much, Chris, for being with me today. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to read more about what he had to say, you can find an article on our website, abcactionnews.com/walking club.